I guess I'm live. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Manjari Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today with another interesting topic. So, today is my favorite topic. We're going to discuss ghee, which some people say as clarified butter. It is actually cultured and clarified butter. So, we're going to discuss all the differences today. So, I can see Uttamji is here. I can see Sheetal is here. So, hello and hi to everyone else as well, and everyone watching this. Thank you for being here live, Uttamji and Sheetal. If you are watching this live, please comment in the comment section so I can see that you're live. If you are watching this as a replay, put a hashtag replay. And at any point of time, if you have any questions for me, feel free to post your questions again in the comment section. So today I'm going to talk about ghee. If you have heard anything negative about ghee, that you should not be eating it, it's bad for cholesterol, it's bad for you, you're going to gain so much fat after eating ghee, I'm going to totally change your mind. And you can eat ghee and you should be eating ghee at least some amount every single day. And I'm going to discuss exactly why, right? So, ghee is the best superfood that you can find. So, in today's world, if you look at the health food industry, there's a new health food or a superfood coming up every single day. We talk about acai berries, we talk about blueberries having tons of antioxidants. We talk about, different even fatty things like alpha lipoic acid and this and that. And everything's marketed, towards making you healthy. But ghee is the one thing that makes you healthy and really strong as well, right? So today I'm going to totally sell you on making your own ghee, on getting the best quality butter that you can buy, no matter how expensive it is, to make really good quality ghee and to eat ghee every single day, right? And if you are a vegan, if you are okay with just incorporating the ghee piece, right? If you can buy like really good quality cultured butter, you can become a vegan if possible. Like I don't want to hurt anybody's sentimental values, but the way to go is become vegan or have ghee, and then you can follow your vegan lifestyle. So I have no qualms about it, right? Or so we're going to discuss the benefits of ghee. So how many of you watching live, do you have ghee every single day in your diet? That's the question I have for you. For those watching live, how much ghee do you have in your daily life? And I'll start sharing my own stuff that I cook pretty much, most of my dals, like any of the tempering that I do. Vegetables, I'll cook it in, coconut oil mainly, but any pulses, lentils, I typically cook it with ghee. So anytime I have to give tadka, or if I'm cooking my rice or making like pilaf or even quinoa, a lot of the times, I prefer ghee, right? And especially if I'm cooking something for my husband and I'm not cooking it for me personally, because I'm a kapha type as well, right? But he is a vata, so he needs a lot more ghee. So I try to like literally overload him with ghee as much as I can. So anybody who's a Vata type can understand why I do that. Hello, Usha ji. Nice to see you. Hi, Johanna. Thanks for watching live. So we're discussing ghee today, and we're discussing how and why should you be having ghee every single day. And I'm going to try and sell you on the superfood, right? So let's get started. So ghee is extremely beneficial when we talk about the benefits of ghee, right? So it is supposed to be like really good, not just physically for you, but also mentally, also emotionally, also spiritually. And in Ayurveda, it is one of the things that's considered to be Mangalya, or, like being really good for you, being really beneficial, almost revered, being holy, right? So it's extremely, extremely important in Ayurveda. And in Ayurveda, we talk about four different kinds of fats mainly, right? So we're talking about ghee, we talk about any kind of oils, right? We talk about sarpi, tail, vasa, and majja. Hello, Aparna, nice to see you. Hi, Natasha, nice to see you. So we talk about four categories of fats mainly, right? So we're talking about ghee, we're talking about oils, we're talking about lard, right, which is an animal fat, and we talk about bone marrow, which is also a category of fat, right? And amongst these four categories, ghee is the best one, right? So ghee is a substance that actually helps digestion, but it balances your pitta. So it helps your agni, right, which is your digestive capacity, but it's going to balance your pitta. If you have any kind of burning disorders, or if you have burning sensation on your feet, if your stomach is burning, if you have a lot of acidity, if you feel like your hands are burning or anywhere your eyes are burning, including ghee in your diet is going to balance your pitta and help relieve the burning sensation, right? So if you have lots of burning in your body, one other recipe, and lots of dryness as well, and even constipation. So if you have a triad of some symptoms that I'm talking about, what you can also do is have take a spoon of ghee, mix it in warm milk and drink it, right? And that's going to lubricate everything, and that's going to calm everything down, right? So excess vata aggravation, organic milk warmed with some ghee. You can add some spice as well. If you're not sure about your digestion, that's going to settle you down. If you have burning, it's going to settle you down. We've discussed milk in a previous video. So milk and ghee have kind of similar properties, that they're going to support your vitality or ojas, right? But milk could be slightly heavier to digest. Ghee is going to be easier to digest than milk, right? So if you're comparing in some ways, and the reason is because ghee is a pure fat and milk has some amount of proteins as well. People who are worried about lactose issues, can have ghee easily. People who are reacting to casein in the milk can also have ghee easily, right? And there are different methods to make ghee, so we're also going to talk about those methods and how to have ghee. So again, going back to Ayurvedic four categories of fats, ghee is considered to be best amongst all fats because it's sweet in taste. It does not increase burning sensation. It is what we call satmya, that you can have it. Anybody can easily have it. I have yet to see anybody who's reacting to ghee, right? So it's fine if some people don't like the smell of ghee, right? But your body is not going to react to ghee. And ghee also helps bring down the inflammation, which I'm also going to discuss a little bit about the chemical composition, right? So when we talk about ghee, mainly now ghee can be made with any kind of milk, right? So you can have cow's ghee, you can have goat ghee as well. So typically in Ayurveda, we're talking about cow's ghee. You can also have buffalo ghee, which is like really thick and white in color, right? Cow ghee is usually yellowish in color. Goat's ghee, I've never made it, so I honestly don't know the color of goat's ghee. But cow ghee is the one thing that we're going to discuss according to Ayurveda, and that's the one thing that's supposed to be really best for you, right? So there are several methods how you can make this ghee at home. One method is when you take milk, you'll boil it, you'll let it cool, then you'll add some culture to curdle it, right? Then you make curd or yogurt. Then you'll churn that yogurt, and that's when you'll extract the butter that gets on top, and below is everything called buttermilk. And the butter on top, you'll heat it at low temperatures, and then you'll strain off any remaining milk solids, and that's going to be your ghee. Method one. And this is a traditional method how it's done, right? So there is fermentation. The fermentation helps convert lactose, which is your milk sugar found in milk, into lactic acid, right? Because of the fermentation, and you're not going to react to lactose as much, right? And that's why a lot of lactose intolerant people can also eat ghee. This is the reason why, right? The other method is when you're taking the same ghee and you're boiling you're taking the same milk, you're boiling it, and the cream that comes on top of the milk, right? In India, if you've seen your mom, so every time, my mom would boil milk, she would take the cream off and she would put it in a separate container. Then she'll take the cream off, she'll put it in a separate container. Then she'll take the cream off, she'll put it in a separate container. And that cream part gets fermented a little bit, and then you're churning it, and then you make it into butter, right? And that butter, again, you can either, the cream gets fermented a little bit, or you can also add some curd to the whole cream mix, so it ferments for one day. and the next day again you're going to make ghee, right? So these are some methods. And the third method, which we do traditionally in the West nowadays, is you just get cream from the milk and you literally heat it to make ghee, right? So these are some different methods how you can make it. Now if you make it from fermented process, like if you're fermenting, if you're adding either yogurt to it, or you're using yogurt and you're fermenting, the buttermilk, the butter that you derive from yogurt, because of the fermentation process, what we call also agni sanskar by the tiny microbes or the probiotics or the bacteria, this is going to be easier to digest, right? So if you buy really good quality butter, right, you have to make sure you're buying cultured butter because the result is extremely different. So in the market, if you go to the superstore, if you go to Blue Water Nutrition as well, we have something called New Zealand butter. So this New Zealand butter is supposed to be organic and it's pasture fed, and the cows are like happy cows moving everywhere, right? So I tried to make ghee out of this butter, and it was really thick and pasty. It's not as free flowing or grainy as you will get it otherwise from cultured process, right? So ideally, if you can find cultured butter, the one that I use typically is by Organic Meadows. You can get it at the superstore. I know we could also order it at the store some time back. Right now it's on backlog, but you can always get in touch with Blue Water Nutrition to see if they can order some for you. You can find Organic Meadows cultured butter also at Superstore or any of the health food stores or grocery stores, right? So again, going back, like always, while making ghee, buy cultured butter because it's going to be better for your digestion, right? It's going to be easier to digest and it's going to be healthier. So that was my point number one, right? So ghee has similar qualities to milk as I described before, right? And for somebody who's really emaciated, for somebody who's losing a lot of weight, somebody who's extremely tired, somebody who has a lot of vata aggravation, you can start including ghee in your diet on a daily basis. Also for kids, also for women who are going through menopause, right? Or premenopausal or perimenopausal. When you add ghee, you also develop stronger bones, right? Because we talk about, different tissue layers, right? So in Ayurveda, what you're eating gets converted into ahar rasa. Then it gets converted into different tissues, rasa, okay, understand as your plasma, or all um, the first tissue essence, right? Then it gets converted into blood or rakta dhatu. Then third is mausadhatu or muscle tissue. Then fourth is medas or your fat. And the fifth is asthi, right? So to have good quality bones, you also need to have a good quality of fat tissue. And this is exactly what clarified butter is going to give you, right? So that this is why it's important to always have good quality fats in your diet. And again, going back to another thing that I also discussed, some time back, because this is one of my biggest pet peeve, that everybody talks about, oh, I'm getting fat, and I want to lose weight, and they end up cutting out, fats, and that itself is going to make you get extremely exhausted, extremely tired. You're going to lose your vitality, you're going to lose your skin luster, you're going to lose your hair, and it's not going to be healthy. So if you're trying to cut out, a few extra pounds, don't get rid of ghee. Rather, ghee has some amazing things that can help you, cut out the fat as well. So ghee also has conjugated linoleic acid, CLA. CLA is seen to be fat burning in nature, right? So if you have excess deposits of fat in your body, um, deposited randomly, it can actually help mobilize that fat. So if you're trying everything and you've completely cut out any kind of fat from your body is not going to let go of the excess toxic fat in your body, right? But if you start including some amounts of ghee, the CLA will actually help you, right? So this is from like a chemical standpoint. The other point is that when we talk about digestive health, right, when we talk about probiotics, there's something known as butyric acid. So butyric acid is substance it's kind of fatty acid that's found in butter, right? So that is a short chain fatty acid. So your intestinal bacteria actually convert any of the fibers into butyric acid, and they actually end up using this butyric acid for their energy, right? And this also helps provide strength to your intestinal walls. Ghee is rich in butyric acid. So if you want a healthy digestive tract, if you want that nice lubrication in your gut, if you want your organisms to actually stay in your body, like those probiotic good bacteria is what we're talking about, you can start adding ghee in your diet. And ghee is also going to help you reduce inflammation, which is also necessary for digestive health, right? And we talked about CLA before, just 2 minutes ago. So CLA is, something that you can especially find with grass-fed cows, right? And that can also assist mobilize excess fat from your body and help with weight loss, right? So for those people that are not eating ghee at all, start eating ghee. Now, again, being a fat, if you are a kapha type and you start having 4 or 5 spoons of ghee, and if you don't digest it, then of course you're going to get excess ama in your body, right? So we're not talking about that, but you can definitely have 1 to 2 teaspoons every single day and make sure you're also digesting it, right? Food, if you eat it with warm foods, you're going to be able to pick it up better, right? And ghee is also a substance that when you give it with something else, it'll take on the properties, or it'll help the properties of the herb you're using without losing its own properties. An example would be is when you're using it with triphala, right, which is the three berry combination. It will help the activities of triphala, right, or the three berries, and it's going to make it extremely beneficial. And that's one of the reasons why in Ayurveda we use ghee for everything. We'll use it in your eyes, we'll use it in your nostrils for nasya. We'll use it as enemas. We'll use it for internal, therapies. We'll have an entire protocol called Snehapan where you're actually drinking lots of ghee before you clean your body out, or before the panchakarma detoxification processes. We actually make people drink tons of ghee. So that helps facilitate the exchange of toxins or the release of toxins from the body, right? So if you're not having enough fat in the body, fat soluble toxins are not going to get out. So with panchakarma, what we do is we'll make you have this snehapan where you're drinking a lot of ghee, right? And then we're going to do massages and fermentation, which helps mobilize those toxins. They come in your gastrointestinal tract. And then either through MSS or purgation, we're going to let out those toxins. So ghee is a superfood. Everybody should be having ghee. And especially also for your brain health, for your emotional health, for your spiritual health. It's also extremely balancing, right? So that's, again, going back to the talk of ghee, like have ghee. I'm probably going to say it 10 times till you really understand it and start eating ghee, right? Any questions so far for anybody that's listening live? I know I can see quite a few of you today. So any questions so far on the topic of ghee for anybody who's watching live? So a few interesting facts, so in Ayurveda, we talk about old ghee or Purana ghee. So we talk about ghee that has been, it's 1 year old or 10 years old or even 100-year-old ghees are mentioned, right? So the older the ghee, the more beneficial effects it has. And they say that if you see like 100-year-old ghee, like everything, like it can cure pretty much everything and anything, right? So in the olden days, when you would think about ghee, ghee was also considered to be something very auspicious, right? And that is one of the reasons why when you do homa or sacrifice or sacrificial offerings, right? So I'm talking about the fire, not sacrificing any animals and stuff. But when you would create like a ritual fire, you would always feed ghee to the fire, right? And ghee is considered to be extremely, extremely auspicious. And it is also something that feeds your rasadhatu till your shukradhatu. So your entire tissue layers, it's going to help support. It's going to help you develop good muscle strength. It's going to help you develop a lot of strength. It's going to also support your reproductive tissues. If you have a lot of dryness, whether it's dry eyes or dryness of skin, start including ghee in your diet on a daily basis, right? So if you have a lot of burning sensations, as I mentioned before, start including ghee in your, daily life. If you have issues with joints, right, TMJ, or if you have any ulcers in your mouth, you can also do ghee pulling instead of oil pulling. So taking some ghee in your mouth and just holding it for some time, right? So if you have a lot of, some people develop a lot of or red tongue where there's a lot of burning sensation in the mouth or any kind of ulcers, at that point of time you can definitely use ghee for pulling rather than doing the oil pulling. So is gallbladder extraction a problem in eating? Is so gallbladder extraction, like depends if you're getting symptoms. So technically, when you don't have gallbladder, you're not going to break down the fats into tiny particles, right? But ghee is easier to digest because of the sanskar already being done by fire, because you're cooking the fermented, cream or butter, which has already gone a fermentation process, then you're further cooking it, at low temperature. So it's going to be better digested even with people having issues with gallbladder, right? But if you have your gallbladder completely removed and you have tons of ghee or even tons of any greasy foods or any excess fat, you might have trouble. But look at your own symptoms. That's the one thing I would say. And most people don't have symptoms with, ghee. That's what I've seen. So if you have any kind of wounds, if you have bleeding disorders, if you have again burning sensations, as I mentioned with pitta, always, have ghee in your daily diet. If you are looking for an immune booster as well, right? So right now everybody's worried about their immunities. So also for immunity, also for anti-aging, ghee is considered to be one of the best things, right? And when we talk about your vitality or your ojas, so when all your food that you eat is converted into 7 levels, the 8th level, which is kind of the essence of all tissues, is understood to be ojas, which is your vitality. So if you are having good amounts of ghee in your body, it also supports your ojas, right? And you're going to have that nice vital force that is going to defend you from other infections or outside attacks, and your own body stays extremely strong, right? So when we talk about different, yeah, so for spiritual purposes as well, ghee is, when you are having any kind of food, when you make an offering, we always put some ghee on top. And whether we talk about homa or whether we talk about, ritual like offerings to the god, there's always some kind of ghee, right? So that's also needed for spiritual purposes. For psychological effects, for mental strength, if you are finding that, you're mentally feeling not as strong, or if your memory is not as good, if you think your mind just doesn't work and it just shuts down, having ghee in your daily diet is really going to support it. And then there are different herbs that you can take, so when you talk about brahmi, which is something that really supports your cognitive function and mental functions, you can also take brahmi ghee. For eyes, triphala ghee is really amazing. But these herbs are actually cooked with the ghee in Ayurveda. So in Ayurveda, there's so many different kinds of, hundreds of kinds of ghees that we use. And when we actually make decoction of herbs, then we make powders of herbs and we make those into paste. And we actually cook the ghee with these powders and herbs. And that is why it has seemed to be extremely beneficial as well, right? So there's also another amazing recipe that I tried making once, like when I was doing a talk in Vancouver some time back. I made it after a long time. It's known as Shata Dhod Grut. And anybody who's from India, if you've tried Kailas Jeevan, right? So there's a product called Kailas Jeevan, which is really cooling to the body. So if you have any kind of burns and all, you can definitely apply ghee. But if you take ghee and you put water in it and you wash the ghee like 100 times, it becomes like a nice cooling whitish paste. and that you can apply on any kind of burns and cuts and also to your chapped lips and all, and it works amazing, right? Also regular ghee works well if you don't want to go through the pain of making shatadod growth. But one of these days, I'll write down the recipe and I'll make a blog post of it and I'll also share it in the group. Hi Siley, nice to see you. It's been some time since we chatted, so nice to see you live. So that's what's called Shatadod growth. So if you are having cracked heels, if you are having chapped lips, if you have issues with dry eyes, dry nose, if you get bleeding because your nose is really dry, you can start applying ghee. And one of the easiest ways is like literally take your pinky finger, dip it in the ghee, and stick it up your nose, right? You can also take the pinky finger, which is clean, not stuck up on your nose, but you can put a little bit of ghee and you can also apply it in your eyes. Just be careful that your ghee should not be contaminated, right? Otherwise, you might get bacterial infections and all. So you have to make it in a good way. You have to keep it in a nice, sterile environment and not keep it where there's a lot of humidity. And if you make ghee right, if you cook it right, it stays on the countertop. So I never refrigerate my ghee, but I cook it perfectly and I know there's not enough water left, right? So if you don't cook it well, it's still going to have that raw milky odor to it. And that's when it can catch any kind of mold, or it might have some issues. But if you cook ghee perfectly, you don't have to worry about refrigerating it at all, because I've never refrigerated mine and I make like tons of ghee and I use it all the time, right? So these were a few things about ghee. Any other questions or any kind of concerns, or any questions, any concerns about ghee? I'm just waiting to see if there's any questions that you have, and I'll quickly answer any of these questions now. Yeah. So yeah, so try ghee. If you haven't tried, try making ghee. Homemade ghee tastes really amazing. Um, if you are based in the States, there's a company called Pure Indian Foods, which have really good ghee. The ghee quality is amazing. In Canada, Prasad ghee, if you're trying to buy ready-made ghee, Prasad ghee is one of the best ones, right? And then there's also Nanak ghee, and there are different ghees that you can definitely find, but always look for the cultured ghee. And if you make it at home, it's really going to help you. For those who are new and who have not tried ghee, and you're not sure how to try ghee or how to cook with ghee, you can literally take it and spread it on your toast if you're still eating toasts, or you can add it to your oatmeal, or you can cook your vegetables in it, you can cook khichdi in it, you can cook any rice dishes in it. You can use it for tempering any of the lentils. You can add it to your soups. You can add it to your stews. So any way you typically use oil, the same way you can definitely use ghee, right? So now, who should not have ghee? So that's another question that I sometimes get, who should be eating ghee, who should not be eating ghee? Is, ghee bad for certain people? And are there some people who should absolutely not be having ghee? So if you are somebody who has a lot of liver issues, right? So if you have hepatitis, or if you have jaundice where your skin and your eyes are turning yellow, right? If you have lots of issues with your liver, ideally at the time, really minimize the consumption of ghee, right? So if you have excess ghee, it can itself cause indigestion, right? So if you are somebody who's a vata type and who needs a lot of ghee in his body, right? And if you're active, you're probably going to use up the ghee that you eat. But if you have a sedentary lifestyle, if you're not moving your body and you're eating spoonfuls of ghee, it might not get digested, right? So avoiding ghee, if you are completely inactive and sitting and eating too much, you can have small amounts, but don't overdo it. If you have any of the digestive toxin called ama, right? So if you are feeling sluggish and exhausted, and if you're having a lot of indigestion, do not have excess ghee or have ghee. If you have fever, right? So when you have fever, your digestive fire is really weak. At that time, you really cannot digest ghee. But if your fever is chronic and you're exhausted because of the chronic fever, and the fever is not there, but you're still tired and your body needs to pick up, at that time you can start including ghee, right? um, Ghee should never be taken in the same proportion as honey. So that's something else that we talk in Ayurveda, and we follow it as a rule, that in a lot of herbs, herbal combinations will ask you to take it with ghee and honey, but never mix those two together in the same quantity. So you cannot have 1 spoon of ghee with 1 spoon of honey with something. It can be 2 spoons of ghee to 1 spoon of honey, or 2 spoons of honey to 1 spoon of ghee, but never in the same quantity, right? So again, if you are having excess fatty foods and lots of greasy foods at that time, having too much ghee will be counterintuitive for you as well, because it's not really going to help you. So if you are somebody who has overeaten ghee, right? So there are certain Indian dishes which are really delicious and laden with ghee. So if you've had something that has tons of ghee, or if you've overeaten ghee, the best way to balance it out is keep drinking hot water, right? Keep sipping on hot water, or just hot liquids is what you can have, and that will help digest it. And you can also have triphala, or trikatu, which will help you digest it. Also, if you have too much ghee, you can have buttermilk, like really light, plain buttermilk, as I described in yesterday's video. And that will help you digest the excess ghee that's sitting in your belly and not getting digested, right? So these are a few, indications of ghee. It's a big fact today that people have ghee in their coffees, right? So coffee is really astringent and bitter, right? And also the caffeine, what it does, it does a lot of vata aggravation. So if you are a vata dominant type, if you have lots of vata dosha in your body, and you have coffee or excess caffeine, it's going to like really make you hyper, right? So for such people, adding ghee to your coffee is going to negate the excess, stimulating effects of ghee on you, of coffee on you. So your vata is not going to be aggravated as badly when you add ghee, because it's going to balance it a little bit, right? So those are my few thoughts on ghee and why you should be having ghee. So our brain is pretty much a fat. For brain function, you need ghee. For every cell in our body has a layer made up of lipid, right? So for the health of cellular, layer, you also need ghee. There are studies done that for people having undergoing radiation, right, or chemotherapy, ghee works extremely beneficial, because ghee is also going to protect your body cells, right? So when you're undergoing radiation, you're exposed to lots of rays which could be harmful to your body cells. But in such conditions, ghees can help support your body cells. And certain times, we'll ask you to have ghee with certain herbs like licorice, or that might change according to what's going on with your health, right? So I'm hoping that I've sold everyone on eating ghee every single day. So you don't have to eat tons of it, but at least 1 to 2 spoonsful every single day. And that's really going to help you. So whether you're putting it on your roti, or you're having it in your soups or your oatmeal, but have ghee usually every day. And the best time to have it would be the afternoon time, which is your pitta time, where your digestive fire is also strong. And even if your pitta is at height, the ghee is going to balance it out, right? So try ghee. If you have any questions about ghee, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. If you like this video, again, I would appreciate if you share it with your friends, or if you tag your friends here. So if you have that one friend who cannot eat ghee, or is worried that he or she is going to gain weight because of ghee, tag them in this video and tell them that, okay, you can definitely have ghee and you're not going to end up, gaining a lot of weight. And going back to the weight gain and ghee, most times people gain weight because of excess sugar. So they're having lots of sugar in their diet, and that itself, when your body is inactive, the excess insulin that's secreted, in response to excess sugar intake, the insulin will actually make that sugar deposit as fat in your body. right? So a lot of the times when people think that, oh, I'm eating fat and that's why I'm gaining weight, you're not gaining weight because of your fat intake unless you're having really bad, chips or fries every single day. Most times you're gaining weight because of the excess sugar in your diet, right? So that's something to understand and cut down, and it is definitely safe to have ghee on a daily basis, right? So it's going to help your health long term, it's going to help your mental health, it's going to help your emotional health, it's going to help your cognitive health and the health of entire body and all systems long term. So start eating ghee, and start eating the right kind of ghee, the cultured kind of ghee, and try to make your own ghee, right? So that's all for today. Thank you all for watching this live, and I hope you have lots of ghee and be blessed, because that's also one thing that ghee does is it's very auspicious. So it's like you're feeding your stomach fire, your homa inside the body, and that's the one thing, right? Like ghee is usually given as an offering in like the holy fire, and your own body, when we talk about our digestive fire, every time you eat, it should be like an oblation, or it should be like um, an offering to the god within, right, that you're giving through the fire. So always be mindful of the foods that you put in your body, right? So even in Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna has said that aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dihamashrita pranapana samayukta pachamyannam chaturvidham. So which literally means that he's the one that I'm situated in every living being as the digestive fire, right? And in addition with like the prana, your life force, and the apana, which is your other kind of vayu that helps with, detoxifying your body. I support everybody's digestion, right? So your digestive fire is the direct representation of the supreme being, right? So every time you eat, your body is a temple. Every time you eat, think about this one thing and eat as if you're making an offering to the body, because the same food can either, make you the healthiest, or it can work as a double-edged sword. And if you're not choosing food wisely, it's going to create a lot of issues in your body, right? So that's pretty much my talk for tonight. I'm going to go back and tell a little bit again about the course. So the course, Food Freedom Formula, for those having any kind of addictions to food, or if you're really struggling with what to eat, what not to eat. I'm going to be discussing a lot about dosha types and also your emotional code and how to eat right for your unique body mind type, not just body type, right? So we're going to discuss a lot in this course. And if you are interested, the early bird closes tonight at 11:59, so 12 o'clock tonight, midnight. The early bird pricing goes away. So right now the course is for 299 USD for anybody who wants to do it for themselves. For practitioners, if you want to get certified and you want to teach my systems and learn about my systems and how to work with clients, it's for 699. And if you sign up by tonight, you'll get this early bird pricing. Otherwise, the price goes up to 499 for basic and 999 for certification tomorrow onwards, right? So I've posted the link here. So if you are interested in changing your health, if you are interested in being more mindful about your food and what you should be eating, and what you should not be eating, please sign up for this amazing course. And we meet live for 8 weeks. Every single week for an hour, I'll be teaching you something. For the next half an hour, we'll be discussing and doing question and answers. And you get a lifetime access to the entire course, right? So I do have lots of people signed up. We're ready to get started next week. So if you already haven't signed up, feel free to sign up for the course. So thank you, Neerav. Thanks for watching this live. Thank you, Amrita. Thank you, Natasha. Thanks, Aparna. Thanks, everybody who's watching this live. And thanks for all your support, because I know there are lots of people that will really support me. And every time I show up live, they're always here to support me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So last note before I sign off, have lots of ghee in your diet. Don't worry about the ghee, but make an investment in the best kind of ghee that you can buy. Don't buy poor quality butter because that's not going to make the best quality ghee. So, for your own mental, emotional health, or if you want to prevent dementia, if you want to prevent Alzheimer's, try having ghee in your daily diet because it's going to feed your body and also your brain, right? And feed ghee to yourself, feed it to your friends, family, your kids, so you can have healthier generations as well, right? So that's all for today. Tomorrow's talk is going to be about the four categories of fats, right? So today I have discussed about ghee. Tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow at 8:30, I'll be discussing different categories of fats. I'll be talking about oils, or maybe I'll just talk about oils rather than adding all the fats. I'll be discussing different kinds of oils tomorrow. So, sesame oil, olive oil, coconut oil, what are the main differences and which one works the best for what kind of dosha. So, that's what we're going to discuss tomorrow in tomorrow's live video. So stay tuned. Tomorrow at 8:30 is when we meet. And if you have any other questions, just post it in the comments. And have a fantastic night and eat lots of ghee and fall in love with ghee. Thanks, and I'll see you all tomorrow.